to make my food a certain kind of way. So what I found is that quite often when you go into restaurants, quite often when you meet people in the workspace, in the work environment, in the marketplace, I found that people have a tendency to do things the way it make the most sense to them instead of do things the way it make the most sense to you. And I'm like, it's not really hard in this time and era to be able to really shine or to really like build up your businesses. It's not really hard. And especially in this time and era, because I've never seen a time where you pay where it seems like the more money people charge you, the less service they want to give you. And if you can build a culture of really serving the customer, my God, you'll make so much money today. It's crazy. So, so I just wanted to, get some lunch. And so while I was there, actually, a young lady behind the counter, I said, listen, I told her what I wanted. I said, I wanted a chicken salad sandwich. And how you doing, Megan? I said, I wanted a chicken salad sandwich. And good afternoon, Derek. How you doing, my friend? I said, let me have a chicken salad sandwich and give me some, what else did I ask for? I said, give me a lemonade. I said, what else did I ask for? I wanted a bowl of soup because if anybody saw me live today, you saw I was going through a thing, trying to talk. I feel much better now because I ate some soup. And I said, so give me some of that vegetable soup. So I said, and I like a carrot cake, but I like the carrot cake after I get through eating. I said, don't bring it out to me now. Okay, bring it out to me after I get through eating. So she said, okay. I said, because I want it warm, but I want it after I get through eating. I don't want you to bring it out now. So she said, okay. So you said, so this is what she told me. She said, so get you a carrot cake and bring it out to you warm. Okay. She said, okay, so I'm going to take your order and then I'll bring your carrot cake out to you. I said, no, 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 no. I just said, bring me the carrot cake out. I'll come up here and tell you when I want it because I don't want it. What's the point of you warming up the carrot cake and bringing it to me and then it's cold by the time I get ready to eat it? So this is the thing about customer service. And customer service, it's what the person is asking for. It's not what makes sense to you. It's what makes sense to the person that's asking you. And I'm telling you, if you're having a problem maintaining clients, if you're having a problem even getting any clients, if you're having a problem getting your clients to bring you more clients, then I'm telling you what the problem is. The problem is that you have your version of what the client want and they have their version of what they want and you're trying to give them what you want them to have versus giving them what they ask for. And I'm telling you, the simplest thing to give somebody is what they ask for. And I'm telling you, your life would be so much better. You'd make so much more money if you would just give a person what they ask for and not what you perceive they should have. So, so she was ready to bring me my carrot cake where I was sitting down at. And I told her, no, don't do that. I'm gonna come back up here and get it. So, all right. So we both agree with that. So finally I eat my food and I come up to get my carrot cake. So I said, go ahead. And I like it real hot. I said, put it on about a minute and 20 seconds. I want it to be creamy. I want the icing to be running off of it when I get ready to eat it. Because I like food real hot and I like to drink drinks real cold. I mean, that's just me. Now you might be sitting there saying, I don't like that, Rick. I don't like drinking stuff real cold. It gives me chills. And I like eat stuff real hot. It burns my tongue. So that might be the way you think. And that's okay if that's the way you think. But what I'm telling you is that when a customer walk up to you and a customer tells you what they want, you don't start thinking about how you think. You think about how the customer thinks. All right. Everybody that's broke, they just live in a delusional world. Why? They don't think from the marketplace's perspective. They think from their perspective and they try to impose their will on the marketplace. And I'm telling you, the marketplace will not accept that. You say, how do I know? Because the marketplace will let you know based on whether or not they come back or not. They'll let you know whether or not they buy any more of your stuff, and they'll let you know whether or not by whether they bring anybody else to you. See, most people, businesses don't last for two reasons. Number one, they ain't got no capital. Number two, they ain't got enough clients. Why? They don't have enough clients because they run around trying to find a new client, and they ain't took care of the client that already been at the counter. That's the problem with people's businesses. And I'm not just talking about a restaurant. I'm talking about every kind of business conceivable. And it's why. It's because the person is looking at the person that's in front of them like they just an imposition almost. And let me hurry up and get by you to the next person. And then when the person is nice or kind of nice, they still think they're doing you a favor by doing what it was that you asked for when it's your money that's being spent. So when I came back up to the young lady the second time, I said, I said, go ahead on and put that on 1 minute and 20 seconds for my carrot cake. So she said, so she went in. Now she's looking at me, and I can tell the way she's looking at me. How you doing, Trina? I can tell the way this young lady is looking at me. I'm like, she don't want to do what I'm saying, because in her mind, warming a carrot cake up for 1 minute and 20 seconds, that's just too much. I can look at her and tell that's what she's thinking, right? And I'm like, how you doing, Jackie? I can tell the woman is, we're talking about customer service today. And I'm like, man, give your customer service. Don't make them nervous. All right. Don't turn a customer into a nervous wreck. Why? Because you make them feel so guilty about asking you for what they want. Are you hearing me? A customer is the reason you got a business. So a customer is not an imposition. Okay. A customer is a blessing. A customer is the reason you eating. And if you got a lot of customers, or you got customers that pay you a lot of money, it's the reason that you eating good. All right. So don't take customers for granted by acting like the customer himself or herself is an imposition. It's not an imposition. I mean, they're the reason you got a business. And it's, I mean, it make common sense, but common sense obviously ain't so common, because people are in and out of business on a regular basis. Most businesses, they go out of business in 2 years. And I can understand why, because they're not paying attention to the customer. So I asked her, I said, put it on a 1 minute and 20 second. Hi, Leah. How you doing, dear? So she put it on a minute. And so I told her to put it on 1 minute and 20 seconds. How you doing, Sister Phillips? So what happened? She go back there, and she come back out in about 20 seconds. So she said, nice and hot for you. So I'm saying to myself, I know this cake ain't hot enough, because she ain't been back there long enough. I told her, I said, go put it on about 1 minute and 20 seconds. All right. And I know it's going to be hot, because I want it hot. I want it juicy. I want it running off the side. I want, when I eat, I want it to be good. You dig what I'm saying? So that's the way I like it. That's the way, I like it. I'm telling her how I like it. Right. But she don't like it like that. You know how I know she don't like it like that? Because she went back there, in about 20 seconds, she came back. And listen to what she said. She took the carrot cake in a little box thing and put it on the table. And she said, nice and hot. I'm like, nice and hot based on whose opinion. All right. Because I'm the one buying the cake, not you. So how you gonna tell me it's nice and hot? So I said, okay, let's test it. I said, let's do a taste test right here. You're right, Harold. She is not add some, and her money, and the sum of her money ain't adding up either. So add some means that you're 100% present when somebody's talking to you. So Brother Harold came to our class, our $100 million word class, and he's a very good student. And God bless you, bro. So I'm talking today about customer service, and I'm saying, get your customer service. Don't make them nervous. All right. So when a person comes in, don't act like whatever they asked you is such an imposition. Don't make no big deal out of it. I'm telling you, you can see the defensiveness of a person when you approach the counter. I'm like, what are you? Do you play football? Are you a defensive back? I mean, like, what are you guarding around here? You ever meet people and act like they guarding their own money? I'm like, what are you doing? I just asked you, whatever I asked you for. And they say, that'll be $2.99 extra. I'm like, okay. And that ain't no big deal. If it's $2.99 extra, whatever the case may be, that's cool. Let a person know that. But in most cases, what I ask people for don't even cost nothing more. It's just different from what they used to. Right? Why? Let me tell you why. Because most people, I'm telling y'all right now, I don't know when y'all gonna start living y'all life, but when I go into restaurants, when I go into a hotel, whatever I'm doing in life, I tell the person, man, this is the way I like to have it. And I'm like very plain about what my expectation is. And then if they won't do it, I'll just go someplace where they will. I will not go someplace and be dissatisfied with some subpar service and complain and mumble and grumble about it. I just don't come back. I just go someplace else. I just don't do business with them anymore. Why? Because they don't want to do what I asked them to do. All right. I was with my main man, Myron Golden. We was in Puerto Rico. And he said, hey, he asked the person to make him some breakfast a certain kind of way. So they brought it out, and it wasn't what he asked for. So we was eating some free breakfast because we was at a meeting with this lady. And so she sponsored the breakfast. My breakfast is good. So I eat mine up, but Myron didn't like his stuff. So he said, you all enjoy the rest of your breakfast. He said, I'm leaving. I'm going upstairs and pay for my breakfast. He said, because I'm going to go up there and they're going to make these eggs the way I asked them to make them. Because the lady is telling, she act like it's a big deal to change these eggs. Because she was like, I don't know if we can do that. He like, y'all a restaurant. What you mean you don't know if you can cook eggs a certain kind of way? You're a restaurant. And you in a 5-star hotel. I know it costs like $75,000 a day or something. I don't know. I'm exaggerating. But it was a 5-star hotel. How you gonna be in a 5-star hotel? And then tell a person that you ought to be able to make eggs Benedict in a five-star hotel. Shouldn't make no big deal out of that. So Myron was like, man, I'm not eating this food. So he went upstairs and he ordered his own meal that he paid for. I would rather pay for what I want than to suffer through what somebody want to give me. Are you listening to me? I said I would rather pay for what I want than to suffer through what somebody just want to give me. How do you feel about that? I said, how do you feel? Good afternoon, Cynthia. How are you there? How do you all feel about that? Do you feel like you should? I want to. If you feel like if you would rather pay for what you want, and instead of getting something subpar for free, put a 1 in the chat. I put a 1, just a 1, just a 1. If you would rather pay, I said if you would rather pay. Some people don't feel that way. Some people just rather save some money. But if you would rather pay for something, and instead of getting something for free that somebody just wanted to give you, put a 1 in the chat. I just want to see if anybody else, if that makes sense to anybody else. I mean, you got a right to disagree. You know, if you disagree, James, that's how you feel. How you feel? Okay. Sound like you believe in good customer service. Cynthia, I hear you. I hear you. Laverne, I hear you. Leah, I hear you. Okay. All right. Okay. So, and y'all, I mean, you can disagree with me. It's okay. I'm not saying you got to feel like, but it looked like I got a bunch of people here who demand top-notch service. And I'm not mad at you because I feel the exact same way. I would rather pay. I would rather pay than you just give me some stuff. So she brought me the stuff out, and I went ahead on and I took a bite. All right. And it was a little warm, but it wasn't warm the way I liked it. I knew it wasn't going to be warm the way I liked it. Why? Because she was only back there for about 20. She said, I put it on 20 seconds. Now, what did I tell the lady? Let's see who's listening right here. Who's listening right here? Who's been listening to me since I started talking? How much time did I ask a young lady to warm up my cake? Let's see. Let's see if we got any good customer service people here. All right. Anybody got it? How much time did I tell her? How much time did I told her how much time to do it. So she ain't got to be guessing because I told her. So how much time did I tell her? All right. How much time did I tell her? Come on. Anybody listening? Anybody paying attention? I'm telling you how to get rich. All you got to do, a minute and 20. There you go, Harold. There you got it. That's right. That's right. A minute and 20 seconds. Jovan, you close. All right. A minute and 20. Blue sky. That's right. That's 100% right. 100. Levon, you got it. 100% correct. 100% correct. A minute and 20 seconds is what I asked for. Now, a minute and 20, and you like, man, it might have been burned by then. Well, if I burn it up, that's my fault. I just have to pay for another one because you did what I asked you to do. But she put it on what? 20 seconds. So what she shortened me a whole minute. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Now, what's so hard about just doing what the customer asks you to do? I mean, give your customer some service. Don't make them nervous. Do you know how many people would be rich right now if they taught their staff what I'm teaching you now? If they taught their colleagues what I'm teaching you now? What the heck? If they would just do what it is that I'm teaching you right now, as simple as this is, it is not practice. I travel around the world. I see the same stuff over and over and over and over and over again. And in this case, I'm not really vexed because the lady did take it back and she went, I said, now go put it back on 30 more seconds for me. I said, go give me about 20 more seconds when she went back. So she went back and put it on 20 more seconds. When she came back out, it was real hot and real juicy the way I wanted it. But I had to ask her, well, let me see. So that's one time we had to have an exchange of about 5 times about what we could have got done right in one exchange. And what I'm telling you is that when you the more exchanges you have to have with a customer to get right what it was that they requested is the more opportunity that you have to lose the customer. Why? Because some people ain't that patient. Some people, they'll be like, man, I don't know what's going on over here, but I told you point blank how I wanted something. And here you are doing your own thing. So what most people do is they say, I'm just not coming back. So they don't even argue with you. They just be like, you know what? So let me tell you, this is how you know. And if you're taking notes, write this down. This is how you know whether or not you're going to get rich doing what you're doing. Look at your attrition rate. All right. What is attrition? Attrition is the amount of people who started with you and then fell off. Okay. Just look at that. There's going to be some attrition in every business. Some of it is necessary because some of the people you don't want to be bothered with in the first place because their attitude all jacked up. All right. So that's going to happen. But when you have an enormous amount of attrition and it's based on the fact that your culture is that you are not alert and that you're not really paying attention to the people that come in, well, that's a personal problem. You can't blame that on the customers. You know, all these customers, they just don't know how to act. You give them 1 foot, they want to take two. No, 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 no. That's not always the case. That's the case with a rare amount, with a small number of people. The majority of the people that come to you, they come to you. Why? Because they want whatever they came for, and they're willing to pay for it, and they expect to get the service that they came for. It's just that most people don't like to argue. So most people are not going to do what I was doing with the lady. Look, this is my life. All right. I ain't gonna get no second life. I don't know about you on this earth, but I know I ain't getting no second one. So I'm not gonna be living those subpar days, eating stuff I don't want to eat and scratching where I ain't itching and laughing where I ain't tickled. And I'm not gonna live no subpar life. And I don't want you either. And none of us should. So I went ahead on and I ate the cake. It was hot the way it was supposed to be hot. But now this is the fourth or the fifth um, encounter with the same lady. And this happens all the time. I like pancakes with a lot of syrup on them. I mean, I can't, it's hard for me to eat dry pancakes. I like a lot of syrup. And I was in a restaurant. I told the lady, bring me back 4 extra syrups because they bring out these little bitty syrups. I think I was in Cracker Barrel. So I said, bring me out 4 extra syrups because I already know it ain't enough. You got these big, thick pancakes. I want to douse them up. So she looked at me when I said that. She looked at me like, who in their right mind would want 4 syrups? But let me ask you this question. Is it the person serving you, is it their job to size up what you're talking about? Put a yes or a no in the chat. The person that's serving you, is it their job to analyze what you want, or is it their job to give it to you? All right, put a yes or a no. Is it their job to analyze you? Yes or no. All right, put yes or no in the chat. Come on, I want to see what y'all think. I want to know, am I tripping? Am I tripping? All right. All right. Am I tripping? All right. Just what's that? CL? You said no. All right. Marsha, you say no. All right. James, you said it's not their job to analyze you. All right. Javon, we ain't got nobody that agree that think they ought to be able to analyze you. All right. Blue Sky, you say no. It's not their job to analyze you. It's just their job to. Okay. All right. Well, wow. It sounds like you understand what it takes to build a multi-million-dollar business then. And that's what that you let the person have it their way. That was a great commercial that Burger King said, hold the pickles, hold the lettuce. Special orders don't upset us. All we ask is that you let us have it your way. Have it your way. That was a great commercial, even though I'll be eating that fast food because that crap will kill you. But I like the commercial though. So they said, look, have it your way. So what's with the strained look on a person's face when they say, so let me ask you all this question. And anybody can put this in the chat. Oh, since we all agree with that, I ain't hear one person say no. So I want somebody to put it in the chat. Tell me, why do y'all think people do that? Why do you think you walk into a place and the person wants to impose their will on you? I mean, it's almost like they grimace when you tell them what you want, if it's not what makes sense to them. So if you like a lot of syrup on your pancakes and they don't like it on their pancakes, why do they look at you like that? Somebody give me a reason. Why do they think they can just take the liberty of not wanting to give you what you asked for and almost look at you like you crazy? That makes me nervous. I don't feel like that's service. What you say, Devon? They should just do it. It should be a pleasure to be of service to a paying customer. I agree. So I'm gonna ask the question again. We all agree with that. All right. So I'm gonna ask the question again. I just want to understand some human psyche, and maybe y'all can help me. All right. Why do they act like that? Why the person look at you like you got a lot of nerve, want a lot of syrup, and then they forget too when they don't agree with it, so they don't even bring you what you asked for. You got to tell them again. So what's that, Frankie? Frankie say judgment. I don't understand what that means, Frankie. Are you saying that they? Okay, Marsha, you said judgmental. Frankie says judgment. So I'm trying to make sure I understand that question. So are you saying that? Sounds like what you're saying, Marsha and Frankie, is that they prejudge you? Can y'all be a little bit more specific? If I was real country, I'd say Pacific. Could y'all be a little bit more specific? All right, Blue Sky. Okay, you say they are unaware it's their job to serve, or they just refuse to serve. Okay, they unaware. So, all right. So Blue Sky, you're saying that they really don't even realize? I don't know if I agree with that, Blue Sky. Are you saying that they really don't even realize that they're doing it? That they are like looking at you the way that they're looking at? Can you talk about that again, Blue Sky? Can you help me a little bit more? Tell me what you mean when you say they don't know. Are you telling me that they don't realize that they're looking at you like you just robbed them or stuck them up or put a gun in their head or something like that? Because I don't like them looks. I don't like you when you look at me when I ask you for something and you act like what I asked for is going to kill you. But like And I don't like that. That makes me nervous. I'm like, I'm trying to enjoy my dinner. I don't want to be intimidated. So can you elaborate a little bit more on that, Blue Sky? Let me see, Frankie, what you said. You said they prejudge since it's not for them, they turn their nose up. You're right. Okay, we agree with that, Frankie. Right. I have had people turn their nose up at me because they don't like what I like. I have that. Okay, my question, Frankie, is I totally 100% agree with you. My question is, why do you all think? I'm just trying to get some insights. Why do you all think? I ain't God. I don't know exactly what be going on in people's head. But I believe if we all can talk about it, then maybe we can get a better understanding. So I'm not going to put up with it. I already know that, but I'm just trying to get a better understanding of people. So anybody got any feedback? Am I missing anybody? Anybody got some feedback on that? Why you think they do that? Let me see. Levon. Let's see what Levon said. Levon said, people have an opinion about how they things should be. Are you trying to say how they think things should be? And they oftentimes impose it on others. All right, that's true, Levon. That's real true. But my question is why do you think people? Y'all making good points, and I done felt like this plenty times inside of an establishment, whether it's a food establishment or whatever. I felt like this plenty times slighted, like what you all are saying. My question right now is why do you think a person does that? They prejudge. Yes, I agree with that. Yeah, they trying to impose their will on you. I agree with that, Laverne. And obviously, I ain't the only one for this to happen to because the way y'all talking sound like it's personal. All right. So my question today is that let me see what Blue Sky said. It said service-oriented jobs require employees who care, not just a paycheck. All right, that's true. That's true. That's true. But let me see if y'all answer my question though. My question is why do you think people do it? All right. Why do you think people do that? Okay, they are trying to save time and look like they have control. All right, Cynthia, now we're getting somewhere. All right, let's see what Cynthia said there. Cynthia said they are trying to save time and look like they have control. All right, okay. Let me think about that. I think that's a really good answer. I think that's I think that's pretty deep right there. So if I'm hearing you right, Cynthia, it sounds like what you're saying is that people want to look, they more concerned about how things look than the way things really are. Is that what you're saying, Cynthia? It sounds like what you're saying is that the person wants to look like they're under control but it still seems like they're out of control. Or they're not doing what you asked them to do. But I hear what you're saying is that they ain't really concerned about having control. They're concerned about looking like they have control. Well, if that's the case, Cynthia, and that could very well be true. That could very well be true. So, but my question to you, Cynthia, is that how you gonna get a tip if you are just looking like you're in control, but you're not really in control of the situation with the client because the client is the one that's going to tip you, not the way things look, but the way things really are. So let's talk about that. So because we're talking about people in a restaurant, but I'm talking about period. This ain't got nothing to do with a restaurant per se, but this is a good example of what I'm talking about. Wait a minute, we have a comment over here. CL Hebron, okay. He said it may require them to do more than oh, okay. All right, there's an observation right there. All right, so what do y'all think about what CL Hebron said? CL Hebron said it may require them to do more than what they really want to do. Now I'm confused. Not confused about your answer because I've definitely seen some people. It appeared that they didn't. I know they didn't want to do it. But my question is, why would you have a job where the way that you get paid, all of us, the way that we get paid is based on our service? So why in the world would we put ourselves in a position to serve people and then not want to do it? Like be almost, like feel imposed upon because somebody asked us to do something. So you bring up a good point there, CL. Let me see what Frankie said. Frankie said, and want you to shrink and bend under their lazy behavior. Ouch. Dog, I thought I was to the point, Frankie. Frankie just gave us 6 pieces with no ketchup. The rap about bing. Just straight up called them lazy, huh? Yeah, I met some lazy folk. And I'm like, but dang, you say they want you to shrink. Ooh, that's kind of rough there, Frankie. But you got a point though. They want you to shrink up under there. Dang. I mean, that's who in their right mind would want to serve you and watch you shrink? Goodness. I mean, what's the motivation behind that? So, Frankie, I got to ask you if that's true, and that could be the case, Frankie. I ain't saying you're lying, but I'm saying if that's true, that's totally jacked up. That the person actually want to see you shrink that's serving you. I can't. That's hard to wrap my mind around. I thought maybe it was just the lazy part. I can understand that, Frankie. I've met a lot of lazy people, and that's sad. I don't like lazy people. I just tell the truth. You know, but to make me, but do you think part of the motivation is what y'all? I want y'all to take. I want y'all to tell me what y'all think about Frankie. What she said. Do you think people want you to shrink when they doing business with you? So that, and if that's the case, what that's gonna make them look bigger? They ain't gonna make no money. I mean, that's a bunch of ego tripping. That ain't got nothing to do. So I want to make sure I understand you, Frankie. And I want y'all to tell me what y'all think about what Frankie said. Do y'all think people want to make you shrink when you come into the marketplace? Not just in a restaurant, but in life. Do you think people want to make you shrink, make themselves look better, and make you look smaller and still get your money? That sounds totally delirious to me, but it could be some truth to that. I never thought about that, Frankie. That never crossed my mind. What do y'all think about that? Do people who refuse to serve you correctly, do they want to make you shrink? But let's go back to that first question though. So Jay Phillips, she said they impose their preferences on a client, and extra syrup request is costing the company money. Oh, and they're trying to save the company money. I never thought about that. I never thought about that. That they actually trying to save them company some money because of the syrup. And mm, that sounds. See, I got a millionaire's mind. So to to a person with a multi-million-dollar mind, the idea of trying to save some syrup is a foreign concept to me. That's hard for me to wrap my mind around. But that could be the way that they're thinking, though, Sister Phillips. That could be the way that they're thinking. That a person thinking, if I give you some extra syrup, it's going to cost a customer, it's going to cost the company money. So let me ask y'all a question then. I'm sorry, did I have somebody else I meant? Well, let me ask y'all. Let me talk about this. What Sister Phillips just said. She said that they think that they costing the company some money, so they don't want to give you what you asked for because they costing the company some money. So, Sister Phillips, if that's true, then my question is that how did they get the money to pay for the syrup in the first place? Because it's coming from what? The customer. All right. So, but you answered my question though, in that, maybe that's the way the person is thinking. But I want to ask y'all another question then, based on what Sister Phillips just said. Does it make any sense for a person to be trying to save the company some money at the customer's expense? What's going to end up happening? If they lose the customer, then they end up losing all the money. Are y'all following what I'm saying? What y'all think? All right. What y'all think about that? Do you think that it's right for a person to be thinking about cutting cut? Do you really think that the person got the company's best interest at heart by trying to save the company some money? Do you really think it? Do you really think? Can y'all follow that train of thinking? Because if the client is mad, then ain't no money gonna come into the company, and they ain't gonna be able to save nothing. So let me see what you got to say, Frank. You said, think if someone can get you to bend to their will, you have indeed, and they still want your bread. Frankie is straight. Frankie, where you from? Man, put where you from, Frankie. You must be sound like you from New York City. This is a sister. She ain't no joke. I would have, boy, back in the days when I was hustling, I'd have looked you up. I tell you, she don't look like she taking no stuff. Um, Frankie, if you still here, just put where you from in the chat. I just want to know. Because Frankie she ain't no joke. Let me see. Let me make sure I don't miss no comments. Um, okay, so Blue Sky says maybe they don't see the value in properly serving their client. Maybe they don't understand the value of good relations or good relationships. Okay. All right. I can see that. I can see that the person is misserving you and not doing what you asked because they don't see the value of the relationship. But now I got to ask another question, Blue Sky. Shouldn't it be in a company's culture to teach everybody that works with them that the most important thing is the relationships that we have with each other and the client? Excuse me. Wouldn't you think everybody would teach that as a culture? Wouldn't you think that would just be just the ABCs of doing business? That you ain't got no business if you ain't got no relationships with the clients. Wouldn't you think so? Blue Sky, what do you think about that? Do you think that should be something that should be in everybody? Do you think And then I'll go to the next person. So this is my next question. Do you all think that every company should have a culture, and at the essence of that culture, it should be to save the company money, or it should be to build relationships? All right, so let's put that in the chat. What do you think should be the number one priority of the company? To save the company money or to build relationships with the clients? Which one do you think? All right, because Blue Sky brings up a good point. That could be the way the person is thinking. All right. All right, let me see. Some people want others to shrink because they're envious. Okay, we had an answer that's comparable to that, Blue Sky. Okay. All right. So Javon, some people get nasty responses to your request because at the moment they have a little authority. Okay. All right. All right, Javon. So it sounds like what you're saying is that some people start tripping when you come into their place of business because they hate they authority. I had a parole officer before, so I know how that is. And man, please, when you walk up to some parole officers, the whole reason that they even took the job is so that they can talk crazy to people. Because I've seen it over and over and over again. I saw a dude have a panic attack because a parole officer did 20 years and locked up for 20 years. So the parole officer scared the mess out of him. He said, "Man, I have you back in there." I da 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 da. The dude they had to take him to the hospital. He had a panic attack, anxiety attack. You dig? But I wouldn't let nobody, I wasn't tripping like that. I wasn't gonna let nobody make me have no panic attacks. I was just like, "Hey man, are you done talking?" When they get through, I said, "Well, yeah, enjoy the rest of your day." So I just want to tell all of you all, don't you let nobody give you no panic attack. You keep your cool when people talk slick to you, and you just be like, "Hey, it is what it is, player. God bless you." All right. So let me see what you all said about that last question. Should people be concerned about building a relationship, or should people be concerned about saving the company money? All right. So Javon said build relationships. Victory, build relationships. Leah, build relationships. James, build relationships. Ohio Boss, relationships. Sister Phillips, relationships. All right. Leah, you said sometimes people power trip knowing that you need something from them. Oh, okay. All right. Let's talk about that. When you walk into a business, a place of business, all right, I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Okay. I think we got everybody. All right. So what Leah just brought up, I think is real important. We're talking about customer service today, you all. And it's just a little bonus section. I know I normally talk in the morning, but I just felt like talking. Okay. So, and we had a very good conversation here. So, um, Leah just brought up a good point, you all. And she said sometimes people power trip knowing that you need something from them. So, how do you all feel about this? When you walk into a place of business to do business with somebody, do you feel like that you need something from them, or they need something from you? Or do you feel like it should be a mutual exchange of value? All right. How do you all feel when you walk into a place of business? Do you think that that you need something from them, or do you feel like they need something from you, or do you feel like it should be a mutual sharing of value? What do you all think? All right. All right. What do y'all think about that? Okay. I'd like to hear y'all answer about that. Do you think the person, Leah just brought up a point, and she said sometimes and I know that's true, sometimes when you come into a place of business with people, they act like they more important than you because they feel like you need them. So they come across as pompous and all of that because they feel like you need them. And what do you all think? Do you think that when you go into the business, they need you? When you go into the business, you need them? Or do you think it should be a mutual exchange? What do you think? So True Value, you said you believe it should be a mutual exchange. Okay. Anybody else? All right. Anybody? And it's okay. I'm not saying we all got to agree. We're just having a conversation about customer service because I want to see you all get rich. And I know ain't nobody getting rich until you learn how to serve a customer. And I want to know if we all even consider what customer service is, or what we consider the culture of customer service. So James, you said a mutual exchange. Okay. Javon, you said a mutual exchange. A mutual exchange. A mutual exchange. Okay. Because I believe in this. I believe that every customer, well, y'all tell me what y'all think about this. Me personally, I look at customers as partners, meaning that if we do any business together, it's not just because to me, if you take money out of the equation when you're dealing with people, the question becomes, are you partners? All right. Because if you're partners, I think you got a much different attitude towards the way you treat each other. All right. Cynthia, you said a mutual exchange. you can't have one without the other. Now, me, I 100% agree with that. To me, that makes 100% sense. I don't patronize you, so I ain't saying it just because you said it. I said it because that's how I really feel about it. Not that my opinion is so important, but I agree with that 100%. That you can't have one without the other. In other words, not it ain't. It's only an exchange if it's mutual. That's what I got. That's what I'm getting from what you're saying, Cynthia. Let me know if I'm wrong. But I'm saying, I hear you saying that it's only an exchange if it's mutual. Because if it ain't mutual, it's not an exchange. That's what it sounds like. What you're saying. Am I right about that, Cynthia? Or is that incorrect? Did I get that wrong? You can tell me if I got it wrong. I might have misunderstood what you said. But it sounds like what you're saying is that you can't have one exchange without the other. It can't be mutual unless both people are exchanging something. Of significant value. Does that make sense? For example, when you all when you all signed up for your mortgages, all of us, when I say you all, when all of us signed up for a mortgage, it wasn't no mutual exchange. Why? Because if you go open up your mortgage papers right now and you look at your mortgage papers, the only signature on there is yours. And that's because the bank, when you go into a bank to get a mortgage loan, they cannot loan you money out of their assets according to the Banking Act of 1933. They cannot loan you assets out of their bank. The only way that they can give you some money for a mortgage is you have to create it with your good credit. So what happens? So you go to the bank and the bank says, give me your social security number, which is illegal because the bank cannot do business with you on a basis that you didn't give me your social. But because y'all don't know the laws, you don't understand what I'm talking about. So you think you have to give it to them. So the bank says, okay, based on this social, you got really good credit. So they call the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve says they got a 750 score. Cool. All right, we'll go ahead on, and we're going to give you a bank credit for the loan that they want. In fact, we're going to give you a bank credit for 3 times the loan they want. So if they want 100,000, we'll give you a bank credit for 300,000 because that's the way a bank loan is. It's amortized, and it's the biggest pimping in the world. So you ain't paying $100,000 for your house. You paid $300,000 for your house because you agreed to that. And then if you look at your mortgage right now, if y'all at home, just pull your mortgage papers out, all 1,875 pages of it. pull your mortgage out. And you're right, True Victory. They signed it. Why? Because they can't sign it. Because you can't sign something that you didn't loan the money. So it's no mutual exchange. All right, that's my point. All right, Cynthia. So I don't know if you was aware of that, but if you have a loan, were you aware of that, Cynthia? That your mortgage is only if you have a mortgage, Cynthia. Were you aware of that? Were you aware of that? That the fact that you signed it, but the bank didn't. And if you have it, just pull it out. And I guarantee you, triple guarantee you, 1,000,000 times guarantee you, you will not see the bank signature on your mortgage because the bank didn't loan you the money. It came from the Federal Reserve as a credit to the bank. All right. And it was based on your credit score. You created your own mortgage. Yeah. So just read it if you have a mortgage, sister, and you'll see more about the idea that you just introduced, the idea of what mutual consideration. And so all of your mortgages are fraud because your mortgage doesn't have any mutual consideration with it. So it's not even a valid contract because a contract has to have 2 signatures to be valid. So if y'all come to the Financial IQ Challenge, you learn all this stuff because we talk about real estate. We talk about all kind of stuff at the Financial IQ Challenge. So that's coming up next month if you're interested in that. But today we're talking about customer service. I was starting out by talking about how I went into a place, excuse me, today, and all I asked for was them to warm up my carrot cake. And a lady actually put it on 1 minute and 20 seconds, and she put it on 20 seconds. And then I'm just amazed. I'm just awestruck at how people want to be in business and they don't want to do what you ask them to do. And it's almost like you asked them to do something. I mean, she wasn't a mean lady. She wasn't mean. I'm not saying she's trying to shrink me. I ain't saying she's trying to front me off. I am saying that she was lazy. I am saying that because she didn't do what I asked her to do. And I think when you won't do what somebody else asks you to do, that there's an element of laziness with that. All right. I didn't leave mad. I wasn't all vexed. She went ahead on and did what I asked her to do, but she took up more of my time than she should have taken up because she could have just did what I asked her from the beginning. Do you know how much money you all would be making if you can follow instructions the first time? All right. I said, do you know how much money you all would be making right now today in whatever area you're working in, if you can follow instructions the first time they're given to you, as opposed to having to mill things over and to listen 5 and 6 and get to 7 and 8, 9 and 10 different instructions, and then finally go ahead and follow through. Do you know how much money you'll be able to make? I'm telling you, you just don't understand, because most of us, we don't get it the first time. We get it the second time, the third time, the fourth time, or the fifth time, because we've been trained to be what? Defensive. All right, so what's that, Jovan? You said, I've experienced some waiters that have nasty attitudes, which I think companies should have employees to take a test to see what their level of comprehension on service with compassion is. That makes a lot of sense. And that's what I was asking you all earlier. Do you think that not just waiters and cooks and all of that, not just people who serve you like that, but everything we do is service. So that's what I was asking you all earlier. What do you think about the company culture? Should it be a culture? I have a company culture with the people that work with me. In fact, so much so until we went through a whole entire book called Unreasonable Hospitality. And it was written by William Godoro. And William Godoro, he created the #1 restaurant in the world, right? A young fellow. And I mean, got it going on. He created the #1 restaurant in the world, all right, ranked #1 in the world. And he wrote a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. In my opinion, every business should be required to have to read a book that's comparable to that. Everybody. And that they should tell their employees, listen, this is how we treat people. I'm not going to assume you know how to treat people. All right. So here is the protocol for how we treat human beings, because I'm not going to assume you know. So let me ask y'all that question. Do you think that companies today, that they assume the person automatically knows how to treat a human being when they come into their business and they just unleash them? Do y'all think that's what's going on? Is that part? What do y'all think? If you think, let me see, if you think the average company assumes a person knows, then put a yes. If you think the average company assumes. If you don't think so, just put no in the chat. And maybe that might be the case, but what do you all think? Because we all, we experience what we experience when we walk into restaurants, stores, so forth and so on. And based on your experiences, what do you think? What do you think? Do you think the average company, that they tell a person, that they assume that the person already knows? Jovan says yes. Do you think that's what the problem is? That could be the problem. Do you think that's what the problem is? Do you think that they just assume the person already know how to treat somebody, so there's no reason to send them through a customer service training program? Do you think that? What do y'all think? Sister Phillips, you said yes. Okay. All right. What do y'all think? I'm listening. I'm listening to you all today. Leah, you think yes? You think, because this might be getting down to the bottom line of what this real problem is. So anybody else? James, you think so? You think yes, they assume so? All right. Anybody else? Anybody else? Am I missing anyone? Anybody else? Anybody else? Brother Harold, you say yes. Frankie, you say yes. You think they automatically assume. Okay. My question is, do you think that people with companies automatically assume that their employees understand how to treat a person so they don't send them through any customer service? And man, everybody's saying yes. You think so, Levon? All right. You think they assume that? Wow. Okay. I think we finally got to the bottom of, I think, these series of questions, and all of our collective energy here has taught us an amazing lesson within this hour. And that's this. It sounds like what the problem is that people who run businesses assume that the people that work for them understand how to treat another person. And therefore, they created the lazy environment that we see and the indifferent environment that we see. Wow. And that took a while to peel through that onion. But it looks like we came up with see, when you go to meetings, you all, and you have a hypothesis, and then you have a theory, then you have a hypothesis, and then you sit down. This is the way millionaires and multimillionaires and billionaires behave. We have these meetings and we sit down. The reason I'm asking you all questions is because I'm asking you questions like the ones we have at our meetings. And by the time we get through answering about 8 or 9 or 10 questions, man, we have found what the real issue is. Then we're able to actually do something about it. And then we're able to actually make money, because now we got to the bottom of the issue. So do you all think, it sounds like that's what we got. It sounds like what we just got through saying is that companies assume that the people that work with them automatically know how to treat another human being. Do you all think that that's an extremely naive assumption? If that's the case, if you think that's naive, just put naive in the chat. Do you think that's naive? I said, do you think that's naive, or can you understand how? Because I can't understand how nobody can operate. Like, I don't assume nothing. I don't assume nobody understands nothing I'm talking about. That's why I always ask a lot of questions. All right. So if you think that's naive, because it seemed like we all came to that consensus based on everybody here. So if you think it's naive for a company to assume that the people that they hire understand how to treat people, put naive in the chat if you think it's naive, if you believe that. All right. All right. Or if you think it makes sense, put it makes sense for them to assume that. All right. If that sounds like it makes sense to me, I think it's not me. I think it's naive. But you put down what you think. All right. If you think it's naive, AP Joe, okay, believes that's naive. Okay. All right. Levon, you believe that's naive. Put what you really feel. All right. This ain't no, you know, trying to intimidate you and thinking like I think. I'm just curious about what you all think. All right. So James, you think it's naive? Javon, do you think that's naive? All right, Cynthia, you think that's naive? All right, you think it's naive? All right, Tori, you believe that's naive? All right, it's naive to just think that people automatically know how to treat somebody else. All right, okay, okay. So now, let me see. Naive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people think that believe that's naive. Okay. All right. So my question was, why do people? We're about to wrap this up. We got a few more minutes. So my initial today our subject that we're talking about is customer service, and get a customer some service. Don't make them nervous. Don't try to impose your will on the customer. Find out what they want and give it to them. So that sounds simple enough, but it's not practiced on a regular basis. So it must be, based on what everybody's saying here, that the people who run these businesses do not train their people thinking that their people automatically already know. So now I got to ask this last question then. If what you see is a bunch of naive behavior, how do people who run businesses, how did they come to that conclusion? How did they come to the conclusion that it's okay to run their company with people who have not been trained in customer service? That's my last question. And I'd like you all to tell me the answer to that. So, because we all got to be subjected to this stuff. We come into the marketplace, into the public, and we're dealing with people in all different kind of walks of life. And why is it that a person would think I can run a business and I got the right to a multi-million-dollar business and I'm not going to train my people on customer service? That is not even that they can just do it, just wing it, where it make the most sense to them. How could somebody in their right mind in business, how could they allow that in their company? That's my question. All right. What are they thinking? What do you think they're thinking? That's my question. All right. And I'm waiting on y'all to answer that. And while y'all thinking about the answer to that question, I would like to talk about one of the companies I really like, which is Southwest Airlines. Now, I prefer to fly on a private jet because Myron Golden spoiled me, getting on a private jet. Wait a minute. First of all, we got to answer. Okay. True Victory. You saying that the people, True Victory, you got to give me a longer answer than that. Pride, I think I know what you're talking about. But again, I don't ever assume I understand what you're saying when y'all give me these one-word answers. That's why I'm like, can you elaborate, please? All right. So Queen Victory, it sounds like what you're saying is that the people who run these businesses, they got so much pride, like haughty kind of pride. Is that what you're saying? Like arrogance? Like, is that what you mean? Like they so arrogant until they assume the people that they sent it out already know how to treat a person. And if they don't, so what? Is that what you're saying? True Victory? Is that what you're saying? All right. All right, let me see what Frankie says. All right. Politics. Some people don't like to be addressed ma'am or sir. I'm so used to saying yes, ma'am, yes, sir. Majority of people don't like that. I love it when a person says yes, ma'am, and no, sir. I don't think it's another way to talk to a human being. A person you don't know. I mean, what you gonna do? Yeah, what? Huh? That's rude. That's not how you talk. That's not how you address people, especially somebody giving you their money. All right. So politics. So what do you mean by that, Frankie? Politics? Come on, we got 10 minutes left, y'all. Politics? What do you mean? What do you mean politics? Like the person who runs the business? Are you saying the person who runs the business that they think is politically incorrect. I'm not understanding, Frankie. You really got to help me. Okay, we got 10 minutes left, y'all. So if you give me an answer, you all listen. I'm giving you all the kind of sessions. These are the multi-million-dollar sessions that we have with the people that we work with. Okay, this is why we make millions of dollars, because thinking is hard work. And most people, they don't like to think. That's why I'm trying to engage you all in some thinking today, and and see what's on your mind. See, because you're all some brilliant-minded people. We just need to bring out the brilliance. All right. Okay. I believe I have a couple other remarks here. Hold on a second, Brother Harold. You said they're not thinking in the least. They're not thinking in the least. At least thinking that people know without being taught. Okay. They're not thinking in the least thinking that people know without being taught. Okay, I agree with that. I agree that the hierarchy is definitely not thinking when they automatically assume that the people that they hired understand how to treat people, that they're not thinking. I can go along with that. I mean, in fact, that's got to be true. Excuse me. So my question is how could they not be thinking? They run a business. I mean, and the way you get paid is people pay you. So it just seemed like common sense. I know common sense ain't so common. So if you can talk about that a little bit more, Harold, I appreciate that. Okay, APJO, he said people who run businesses went to school and got the position and they got the real experience. Okay, now we kind of getting deep here, and ain't got the real experience of being the first person to address customer premium service. Okay, all right, we getting deep right there. That might be the deepest answer I heard. That might be the most comprehensive answer. Well, I just asked that question. Now now let's talk about that for a second. We got 9 minutes left. APJO, I believe you onto something. All right. Said people who run businesses quite often got a degree. So they in a fantasy world. Well, that's piping hot right there. So let's think about that. If I don't have no practical experience with how to treat people in the marketplace, and then I can see how that kind of individual would be so naive as to not even know it's necessary to teach the next person how to treat the person, how to treat the customers. Dan, I believe you really onto something. Let me read that answer again. That's an amazing answer. People who run businesses went to school and got a position, and they got the real experience as being the first person to address customer premier service. I like that, customer premier service. Man, what do y'all think about that answer? Do y'all think, if y'all think that APJO is onto something, put a 1 in the chat. If y'all think that answer, if you think that really makes sense with it, APJO just got through saying, put a 1 in the chat. Let me see how many people think that makes sense. I'm gonna put a 1 in the chat. I ain't put nothing in the chat all night, but I'm gonna put a 1 in the chat on there because that was that's man, you really worded that right. I mean, that's a really wise way of looking at it. To me. All right, y'all. Well, the ones are lighting up, APJL. You kind of lit it up right there. Yeah, this is how we get rich. We have these kind of meetings and we sit up and we figure things out. And then we do what? We turn around, we make moves based on what? The collective answers of everybody. I'm showing y'all how boardroom meetings are run. Okay. This is how we run our boards. This is how we get paid. That's why we make so. That's how I got it. If y'all want to know, you say, Ricky, how did you have $1 million day? Because I just got an award for making $1 million in one day. He said, so how did you do that? Like what we're doing right now? Because ain't nobody that's smart by themselves. The smartest person in the room is the person who know they're not the smartest person in the room. All right. Wise people, all we do is just glean information from each other. That's all. Because ain't nobody going nowhere by themselves. And this school mentality that's got everybody being at, all this competition with one another. That school mentality is a slave mentality. That stuff is a scam. That's why when I meet people, they talk about, hey, Brother Rick, y'all make 4 times y'all bank deposits and make all that money, da 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 da. You sure there ain't no scam? I'm like, man, how many years you spent in school? They're like 25. I'm like, man, you've been so scammed until you way too late for a scam, partner. You're a professional. You've been a professional scammy. They've been scamming your butt for years. Why? Because you ain't been in no board meetings. You ain't been in One meeting that we having a board meeting right here, right now. You all are coming up with phenomenal, fresh, off the hoof ideas, and that's how you get paid. So when we get through talking today, just keep doing the same thing. Find you a group of people. Y'all sit down and talk. You say, Brother Rick, I'd like to be in your group. Well, I got a financial IQ challenge. Come to it, and maybe so. Our group may be for you, may not be for you, but make sure that you collaborate because you ain't going nowhere by yourself. Because the questions that come up in a group setting, excuse me, the questions that come up in a group setting are multi-million dollar questions, and you can't make multi-million dollar answers until you come up with multi-million dollar questions. Okay, it's the questions that change your money. All right, because the answers that we got, they to the questions that we've been asking, and we have to ask different questions. So I think that's just beautiful. That last thing. Let me read that one more time to y'all because it was awesome. Then I got a couple of more here. So people who run businesses, they went to school to get the position, and they don't have the real experience as being the first person to address customer service. Anybody ever watch Undercover Boss? If you ever watched Undercover Boss, put a one in the chat. You ever seen that Undercover Boss? Have you ever seen that? Undercover. It's one of my favorite. I don't even watch TV, but I'll watch something like that because TV bores me. But I'll watch something like Undercover Boss every once in a while if I happen to see it in one of these hotel rooms. You seen it before, Ohio Boss? Have y'all seen that? Have y'all seen Undercover Boss? Anybody else put a one in the chat if you've seen it? Okay. All right. So um, the reason I like it, if you got a reason why you like Undercover Boss, we got 4 minutes left. Just put your why you like it. If you like the movie, I'm gonna tell you why I like it. I like it because the person comes down from off their high horse, way away from the general public. Just what I gotta say the person's name again one more time. Just what APJO said. The person, they say, I don't understand what's going on a ground level with my company. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to act like I'm somebody on the ground level. When I say ground level, that don't mean that they better than nobody else on the front line. Let's put it that way. Because your business is like a kingdom. It's war. So you got to be on the. If you don't know what's going on with the front line with your soldiers, then you kind of obsolete. You'll be obsolete after a while. Nobody will know what's going on with your company. So, excuse me. So I love Undercover Boss because they go in and then they find out what's going on, and then they find out they need to change a lot. Okay, they find out they need to. They find. I love it too, James. I love that show. So they find out they need. They don't find out they need to change a few things. I've never seen an episode where they said, "Oh, we just gonna make two little minor tweaks." You ever seen anything like that? Every time I see that show, they're like, "Man, we got to make some major changes." And that's the beautiful thing about life. It's saying, you know what? I want to find out what are my blind spots and what's not working in my business. I want to know what, and then I'm gonna do what? I am going to adjust and change. Ain't no business that's gonna last that don't adjust and change. Are you hearing me? It's just like, and wait a minute. Let me read a couple more things here first because, no, thank you, APJO. That's an amazing answer right there. Let me see a couple more things. So Harold said, just going along with the status quo, thinking you know without being informed on how it's done. So true. All right, because they won't come down from off their high horse and go on the front line to see what's going on. Hey, Shantice, how you doing, baby? I hope you had a great time seeing your brother today. I came over to the hotel, honey, because this cold is getting the best of me. So I'm just going to lay down and rest after I get through talking to our friends here this afternoon. Okay, sweetie, but I'm still in town. I ain't leave, but I just had to come over and lay down. Okay. Um, let's see here. So Shantice said workers behave naturally without knowing they are being graded. Workers behave not. Now I know, Shantice, I know in your case you were an amazing waitress at one time, and I remember one time they gave you $150 tip. I'm talk to my daughter. Here you are, and she's on the phone here. So I saw one time they gave you $150 tip just on one time because you know how to treat people. I've been in your house for 2 or 3 days, and you treat me like a king, and I'm your father, and I got a lot of respect for you the way that you treat people. Okay, I mean you really know how to treat human beings, and I would hope so because we grew up in the same crib. So I would hope you know how to treat people. So, but I don't understand your answer though, Shantice. So if you someplace where you can type in, expound on that answer. We're almost done here, but if you can expound on that answer, I'd appreciate that. Workers behave naturally without knowing they are being graded. So my question though was, why do people who run these companies? My question, you might not have heard it, Shantice. Why do people who run these companies think it's okay to let people out into the workforce without teaching them customer service? My question was. And then we had a great answer by, I can't remember the name right now, but let me get it again. Let me get it again because the answer was so good, by APJO. And that answer was, they don't know what's going on because they don't ever come on the front line. So they naive, and they be running jacked up businesses and don't realize it, or they could be doing a lot better. So you said, unfortunately, Shantice, what is that? Unfortunately, people do not treat and serve others in a way they deserve. Yeah, you just came in on the meeting, Shantice. So we passed a whole, what you're saying is true, but we passed a whole lot of that. We all agree with that. I was talking today about how the lady didn't want to warm up my carrot cake. Because you ate with me yesterday. So she wasn't mean spirited or nothing, but I told her to put it on 120 seconds, and she put it on 20 seconds, and then brought it out to me all hot for you. I'm like, how's she gonna tell me how hot it is instead of just doing what I asked her? All right. Anybody else got a comment on the last thing? So Javon, they are interested in the lack. Let me see. They are interested in the lack thereof and willing to change. Okay, good. So you're saying that the people who come down and see what's going on, then it'll change their perspective. That's what it sounds like you're saying, Javon. And then they're willing to make changes that'll keep them in business. All right. That's what it sounds like you're saying, Javon. If that's what you're saying, let me know. All right. Because again, I don't know if I'm always interpreting what you're saying, but that's what it sounds like you're saying. All right. Jay Phillips, you said give the boss a real perspective of the real workings of the business. Now, I understand that. And yes. We all need a real perspective about what's going on with these companies, and not assuming that we understand what's happening. All right, Cynthia, I like it because they are showing that they are concerned about the moral of their company. They are seeing firsthand how their business is being operated, right? And when you say that, Cynthia, it sounds like what you're saying is they're not just concerned about. Sounds like you're saying that they're concerned about the morality of their company. Have you ever watched that show? If that's right, Cynthia, just say yes. If I'm wrong, you just say I'm wrong. You say no, that's not what you meant. But it sounds like what you're saying is that if a person to come down from off their high horse, come into these businesses that they run, and really get to see what's going on, they'll see what the morality is in their business. And in other words, how the employees, because quite often people act the way they act because of how they feel about the business that they work for. Do you all agree with that? Man, y'all gonna make us go into overtime here. I'm supposed to be done right now, but such a good conversation. What do you all think about that? Do you think that the people's morale is part of the problem with why they're so casual with the customer? Because they're not really happy about the morale of the business. Because perhaps they ain't never seen nothing even close to an owner or the people in the business have a condescending attitude towards them, and then they turn around and they pass that condescending attitude onto the customer. Maybe now we really getting somewhere. What do y'all think about that? What do y'all think about that? Do you think people pass their feelings on to the next person? What do y'all think about that? Let me see. What was that Frankie said? I remember. Let's see it. So I remember you recently had another customer issue with your breakfast, if I'm not mistaken. So I believe the audience perspective is correct. Service, for the most part, is not the same. Let me read that again, Frankie. Make sure I understand it. So I remember you recently had another customer issue with your breakfast, if I'm not mistaken. So I believe the audience perspective is correct. Service, for the most part, is not the same. So I did have an issue right before that I was talking about before live, if that's what you're talking about, Frankie, where a lady was just straight playing me, and I had to let her know I wasn't having that because she was playing me, and in that case, it was a hint of racism too, and I really ain't having that. So if that's what you're talking about, so amen. All right, so I'm getting tired, you all. I need to give me some rest. So, and does anybody? The last question that I asked was, if we could just deal with that very last question, that'd be the last thing we talk about. In business, what the heck? In life, do you all think that a lot of if it's some indifference that a person shows you or shows an individual when they step into their place of business, do you think it's a reflection of how they feel about the business? Do you think that, or do you think a person can be in a really good environment, business environment, and still just be contrary, or still just be indifferent? Or because I'm not saying every time I go in some place that the people are mean, but I am saying, man, more often than not, more often than not, I'm not overwhelmed. I mean, like with, like, wow, my socks are not knocked off most of the time. And I travel around the whole world. And I'm like, most of the time it's just either what you expected or not what I want. It's not most of the time. It's not. It's very seldom that I'm like, Lord have mercy. So what I'm saying is it must be some serious culture problems with these companies because it's something being lost in the translation. I'm sorry, what was your, what, all right, stream content, you say, what's your greatest lesson learned? Um, can you be more specific with that question, please? What's my greatest lesson learned in customer service? If that's what you're asking me, extreme content, what's your greatest lesson learned? If you're asking me what is it in customer service, then I can answer that. But I don't understand your question. So if you can be a little bit more specific, then I'll answer that. All right. Okay, Levon says how they feel about themselves. Sister Phillips said is if unappreciated employees can impose their mindset on a patron. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna go as far as to say, let me see if anything else over here. All right, so we're gonna hold on to that thought, Sister Phillips. All right. Possibly a reflection about how they feel about themselves. A different view says. Possibly a reflection about how they feel about themselves. So a different view, are you saying, let me ask you this question. Are you saying that the environment that the person works in doesn't affect how they feel about themselves? Can you tell me about that? This is the last thing we're going to talk about the way that people treat you in a business. And when you walk into their business, is it a reflection of how they feel about the business that they're in? And or is it just that it's just the way the person is? It ain't got nothing to do with the company's culture. That's what I'm asking you. All right. So, and you all tell me what y'all think about that. All right. So, what you say? What you say, Sister Victory? Say, come into my classroom or in one of my jailhouse sessions. Your socks will be knocked off. God bless you, dear. Keep up the good work. Whatever you're doing and whoever you're working with, man, God bless you. You're a beautiful person. I happen to know you in person. And you are the kindest person I've ever met in my life. And you know a whole lot about hospitality. All right. A whole lot about hospitality. And so kudos to you. All right. So I'm going to go back to this last thing, this last statement from Sister Phillips, and then we're going to get out of here. She said, if unappreciated employee can impose their mindset on the patron. And I'm inclined to lean in that direction. All right. I know everybody got to be responsible for their own actions. Every tub, grandmama said, every tub got to sit on its own bottom. So I agree with that. I don't think you can use other people for an excuse. However, I also believe this about life, and that's that your environment has, whether you even realize it or not, your environment has an amazing impact on you, whether you know it or whether you don't. I believe in that because the Bible says, be not deceived. Evil communications, they corrupt good manners. And on the other hand, the Bible says that iron sharpens iron. So wait a minute, we have another comment from Leah. So it also depends on the person to set the bad moral aside and bring it out of themselves to provide excellent customer service. You're right about that, Leah. There it is. So if you're in an environment and the environment is not conducive towards treating people right, it's still up to the individual. It's still up to the individual. However, with that being said, Leah, if you was running a business, Leah, and me knowing you, being part of our posterity group, and me knowing you and having seen you in person and all of that, and watching your demeanor and how given you are to hospitality, then I can speak on you because you sent my daughter things all the way, fresh things from Japan to encourage her while she's been going through a lot of physical changes. And I mean, you didn't have to do anything like that. I mean, that's about as nice as a person can get. So I definitely feel where you're coming from because you're like, look, you can be around a whole bunch of buttholes, but you ain't got to be one. Is that what you're saying, Leah? It sounds like you're saying you can be around a whole lot of buttholes, but you ain't got to be one just because they are. And I remember when I stopped hustling and started working a square job, and I was, and the carts was coming in, and I was pushing carts, and these dudes started complaining about the carts. The other dudes that was working with me, and they was like, man, all these carts, and I hear you, Leah, and that makes sense. So they was cussing a lot, about these carts and complaining. a lot about the carts. And I just couldn't understand it. I was like, if there wasn't no carts, we wouldn't have no job, right? And they was like, yeah. I say, so why are you complaining about the carts when the cart is the reason we here? I mean, if no carts, we gonna go home. We go home, we don't make no money. We don't make no money. We back in the depression league. All right. So at least we out there doing something. And at least we got something to do. And these carts are not an imposition. The carts is what we here for. And that's my whole point today. So as you go home and start your businesses, and as you start, these different endeavors it is that you're doing, I recommend that you do what we do. I meet with my staff a minimum of 3 days a week, unless I'm traveling or something like that. I call them staff, but everybody's an independent contractor with me, from my daughter to my son-in-law to Shantae to um, everybody that works with me. They're all independent contractors. But I don't assume that we got it together. I don't assume that we just everything's hunky dory. In fact, I got way more sense to know that it's always some issues that need to be addressed. So we meet 3 days a week, 3 days a week. And I want to encourage you all, if you're running these businesses and you're having these casual meetings with your people, I want you to turn it up and start meeting with your people more. And you say, well, Ricky, we don't really have a whole lot to talk about. Well, your meeting shouldn't be just to put out fires. Your meeting should be to prevent fires, because an ounce of prevention is better than an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So you won't be bored in your meetings if the point of the meeting is that we're meeting here to learn how to serve people at the highest level. It's always something to talk about when it comes down to serving people at a higher level. In fact, I'd like to recommend this to you. I recommend you all get the book Unreasonable Hospitality. Every last one of you. I recommend that you go get that book by William Dodaro. Will Dodaro, Unreasonable Hospitality. You'll learn so much out of that book. It'll give you so many fresh ideas about customer service and about how you could possibly do things a better way. All right? Because we can always do something better. The biggest room in the world is room for improvement. All right? I got to go. You all enjoy the rest of your beautiful day. I'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock Eastern. And our lesson tomorrow is going to be the evidence of the truth is the truth. We're going to be talking about the truth tomorrow and how that the evidence of the truth is the truth itself. All right. We're going to be talking about that. If your life is a life based on the truth, then we'll know, because you know a tree by what? By the fruit that it bears. So tomorrow at 10 o'clock Eastern, that's what we'll be discussing, that the evidence of the truth is the truth itself. And I just got one question to ask you before we go. Have you ever seen an apple tree with oranges on it? The answer to that, of course, is no. Why? Because an apple tree can only produce apples, because the apple is the true seed inside of the apple tree. So an apple tree doesn't have to try to produce apples. It can't help but produce apples, because the evidence of the truth is the truth itself. I love you all. Enjoy the rest of your beautiful day. I'll see you tomorrow. It's been a plum pleasing pleasure as well as a privilege. And remember that stellar is as stellar does. Have an awesome day, and make sure you turn that customer service up, all right? Turn it up, turn it up, turn it up. God bless you too.